week, a new mandate in South Carolina goes into effect that might help curb the abuse of those drugs. It requires doctors to use a statewide database that tracks how often a patient is getting opioids, as well as the dosage.
Until now, that has been voluntary. Treatment centers hope it curbs what's known as doctor shopping, but they also are concerned that it could lead painkiller addicts to the street.
A new database to curb the overprescribing and addiction of pharmaceuticals could have prevented someone like Deborah Close in Spartanburg from getting hooked on a controlled antidepressant.
But the problem was I'd start out with 50 milligrams a day, and by the time I would be up to 250 milligrams a day. And it took someone in pre-med to say, you're almost at a threshold to where it's dangerous. Your heart's going to stop at night. My doctor never told me that.
South Carolina's prescription monitoring program aims to prevent that. It will require doctors to check the prescription history and enter new script dosage of controlled substances for people with Medicaid or a state health plan.
An Inspector General report ranks South Carolina 11th highest in the nation for prescribing painkillers, with 102 prescriptions written for every 100 people.
Susan O'Brien, the executive director of the Forrester Center for Behavioral Health, hopes the new mandate will prevent addiction. Still, she's worried those already hooked could turn to the street.
What we don't want to have happen, because what we've seen in other states, and it's a debate whether this is really what the situation is that if it becomes too militant and it becomes too strict, then what happens is you might take the drug away, but the dependence is still there. What we don't want is then that switch to heroin.
Close, who lost her job because of her addiction, says the database is a key step to keep doctors and patients in check, just like her therapy is helping to keep her clean.
I've hit bottom. I've got nowhere else to go but up.
So we checked and found out other states like New York and Tennessee enacted similar mandates with a lot of success. They actually saw drops of between 35 and 75% in patients who shop doctors to get multiple prescriptions.
You know, we used to do these stories and investigations into doctors who ran pill mills, sort of over-prescribing these drugs, who got caught. And one of the things we found is that other patients would sort of shop different states. They buy drugs here, they buy drugs in North Carolina. So does this new plan help cut back on that, who cross state lines?
Well, not really, honestly. There's no national database, and that's something that some lawmakers are trying to push for. And also, South Carolina does share the data information with some states, but not others. And they're still working on the borders like Georgia and North Carolina. So that's not a done deal just yet.
That's still a long way to go with that. Big changes for families who